So for those who haven't heard of Abundance, we're a regulated crowdfunding platform. That means we're regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority, and this enables us to raise money from the general public and essentially have it invested into projects, companies, community groups that are looking to develop projects. We've focused since we started 10 years ago on sort of allowing people to sort of use their money to back the decarbonisation of the UK. So using their money to build wind farms, solar farms, tidal stream projects up in Scotland. Core to Abundance is we're aiming to democratise finance. So doing this type of thing has traditionally been sort of out of reach of the average person, because you had to have quite large sums of money to do investing. The big innovation of crowdfunding is using an electronic platform to facilitate the investment process. You can open up the act of investing and getting involved in projects to everybody. So we start with a £5 minimum investment. And what's driven Abundance is two ideas. One, we know that people want to move their money, or a large number of people want to move their money from what we would categorize as destructive investments and move this money into productive investment, things that are building, you know, sort of a bit cheesy, but a better world, a zero carbon world. And at the same time, one of the things that's driven us from the start is we know that we've got huge challenges as we sort of accelerate towards net zero, to get people to adopt new technologies, to build support for what is a radical change. And we sort of believe that the more people are directly involved in the things that are being done to them, to their communities, to their country and the world, to help decarbonise, the more they'll understand, the more they'll support, and the more they'll advocate for change. So it's about, you know, sort of involving people in the process is at the heart of what we do. So we've raised 107 million for a variety of, you know, sort of net zero projects across the UK, everything from green social housing through to tidal stream projects. But over the last 3-4 years, we've been starting to work more with councils, helping them raise money from their residents to back their decarbonisation programmes. So we started with Swindon Borough Council 3 years ago, where we raised 4.5 million for them from residents for the construction of 2 solar parks. That was, I won't go into the technical details, but that was quite a specific form of financing that we did with Swindon. And it worked very well for the case that Swindon had, but it wasn't a particularly scalable route for bringing in resident money into council projects. So we spent a bit of time funded by the sort of UK government, DCMS and their Inclusive Economy Unit, developing a new way of connecting residents to the council through their money, and that resulted in what we call a community municipal bond, and we're using as a climate bond in its first sort of use cases with West Berks and Warrington, and we tested this new approach last year with West Berks and Warrington, raising £1 million for each council in the process. So I'm not going to go into the technical details of the financing structure, but I'll just, you know, outline the key principles. So if you're going to raise money from residents as a council, there's some, you know, 2 things that have to be achieved. It has to undercut Public Works Loan Board, which is the traditional place that councils borrow money from, and it has to be really easy for a council to use. If we don't hit those 2 core principles, fundamentally it's regressive, because best will in the world, no matter how democratic you can make the access, we're only going to really reach, there's only 60% of any community that have money to save and invest. You know, 40% of people just don't have that luxury. They're you know, predominantly living on debt. So if money is going to be raised from residents for a council to deliver its projects, it has to be saving a council money. Then it's progressive, and it's actually creating additional social value by saving the council money, as well as helping deliver the projects that the money's been raised for. So those first 2 key bits are the fundamental, you know, sort of bedrock of a community municipal bond. But then once we've connected individuals to the council through their borrowing, what we're focused on is building a communication platform that links the residents and the council together in the delivery of the strategy of the council, and specifically the area we're interested in is the delivery of net zero. And this we think sort of really important, when you think about climate emergency and engaging residents with this. The example I sort of, I often give on this case, that it's great if a council raises money and retrofits a building and makes it completely energy, carbon neutral. That's fantastic. But if the community as a whole don't know that that's been achieved, a degree of impact, quite a large degree of impact is lost, or the opportunity to impact the community is lost. Because if we connect people with their money to the decarbonisation of that building, we show what's possible, we show something's been done. And as we have this sort of, beating drum over the next decade, 10 years to act to avert sort of catastrophic climate change, the biggest risk we face is that individuals who we need to encourage to make a lot of change if we're going to hit the targets, individuals will lose hope, and if they lose hope, they're not going to make the changes in their own life. So that we need. So a council, when it does anything, it has a responsibility in a way to make sure that people are aware of that, because if people see action, that will build their confidence to take action in their own lives. And in a sense, what we're sort of trying to do through Abundance in our sort of the area we work in is be part of hopefully what will become a cacophony of noise over the next decade, with lots of green bonds pointing a light on projects that have been done, but other forms of communication happening. So every day people know that action is being taken to deliver a net zero world. And if people sort of are overwhelmed by that that noise of action, that will lead them to make changes in their own life. So that's sort of the heart, I suppose, of a community municipal bond, is that it's easy, cheap for a council to use, but then it starts to build this platform that councils can communicate through. So we piloted it with Warrington and West Berks. We raised bonds which undercut the Public Works Loan Board, saving them 0.5% on their borrowing costs. The money was raised alongside Public Works Loan Board money, so it was blended to deliver the projects. In Warrington, the money was raised to expand cycleways, fund tree planting, fund rooftop solar, a variety of projects that all sat within the council's net zero strategy. And in Warrington, it was to fund a solar park that was being built and operated by the council. So both bonds raised their target ahead of time. And from our perspective, in terms of the democratizing access piece, we were sort of really happy to see that 25% of investors invested £100 or less. And now we're sort of moving into the next phase of these bonds. They closed in October, and we're building up to the first interest payment and starting the process of communicating with residents, starting to take them on a journey of telling them, yes, what their money has done in their community, but also telling them about what the councils have planned going forward over the next 6 to 12 months. And something that we've built into these bonds, which is really probably one of the most exciting bits, and we're yet to see if the theory, which is really positive, matches the practice, is something that came out of a focus group in Warrington, where individuals that we spoke to ahead of launching the bond said, this is great, we want to use our money to help decarbonise our community. We understand the council is a low risk place to invest. Therefore, maybe we don't want to take all our interest. Maybe we'll leave some of our interest with the council to help the council do more in the net zero strategy, maybe do the hard to fund elements of the net zero strategy, such as tree planting. So what we did is sort of took that and then built into these bonds the ability for investors to essentially dial down their interest to zero if they want, and that interest to be returned to the council to do whatever extra things they want to do. So with West Berkshire, the sort of request for the donation will be around rewilding of roadside verge. So every pound donated will rewild about a half square metre of roadside. So the theory's good. In about 4 weeks' time, when we make the first interest payment, we'll know what percentage of people have actually donated money back. But this is, in a way, the sort of engagement strategy we're trying to build is get everybody together, sort of contributing to the decarbonisation of their communities. So This year, obviously, as we'll all be aware, is pivotal. It's COP26 you know, in Glasgow, significant sort of climate conference, because we're looking for the people to sort of adjust or hopefully upgrade the commitments they made at the Paris conference. And the UK government is looking to launch a green gilt in line with the climate conference. That's been in the press recently. So that's the UK government issuing a green bond. And this is really exciting, because at the same time we've been approached by the Green Finance Institute, which is a spin-off from HMT, the Treasury. And they've said to us, we're really keen to try and find councils that are issuing climate bonds alongside COP26 and alongside the Green Gilt, so that we can demonstrate globally, I suppose, the UK's action at both local and national levels. So we're starting to work with a group of councils who will be issuing climate bonds in the run-up to COP, which, beyond the sort of the Green Finance Institute and the desire to sort of profile councils doing that, it's from our perspective a really important time to show leadership locally on climate change, and also give residents something that they can really do to impact the decarbonisation of their communities. That sort of pivotal point. So that's the sort of what we're building to at the moment, is organising a group of councils issuing bonds in the run up or around COP. But that's a very quick overview, but hopefully that gives a flavour of what we're doing.